Hey everybody, it's Miss Brothers. I just wanted to walk you through how to do these metric conversions using something called the metric staircase. I'm going to show you the metric staircase. Here it is. The way this works, I handed this out to my classes the other day, and the way it works, remember when we're dealing with the metric system, what's great about it is that everything is divisible by 10. And we don't use fractions when we're dealing with the metric system, we use decimal places. And the nice thing about doing these metric conversions is that if you want to do a conversion, all you have to do is move the decimal. So like, let's say you don't have a calculator handy and you have to do a metric conversion. You can just use this metric staircase and move your decimals, okay? So let's do this. Let's take a number. I'm just going to pull a random number out here. Let's take the number 1,298, okay? This is a whole number. And just remember, when you're dealing with whole numbers, the decimal is always at the end. So if I were to draw this with a decimal in it, I would say 1,298 point. Okay? Now, when it comes to using the metric staircase, essentially what we're doing is we're just moving the decimal in order to make some sort of conversion. So if I have 1,298 centimeters, and I wanted to know how many meters that is, I'm going to use the metric staircase to help me. So if I draw it out, I might ask something like 1,298 centimeters equals how many meters? Okay, and I'm using the abbreviation for centimeters, which is lowercase c, lowercase m, and I'm using the abbreviation for meters, which is lowercase m. All right, so now what I would do is that I would go to my metric staircase. I'm going to switch over to pencil here because I might do some erasing. Now, what you always have to remember is you always have to remember where your starting units are on the staircase and where your ending units are. So in this case, my starting unit is, or my starting is 1,298, and my unit is centimeters. So if I'm looking at my metric staircase, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for these right here, milli, centi, deci, my base units, deca, hecto, or kilo. Now, if you remember, you guys, when we talked about this in class, one of the things that we want to remember is that if I'm dealing with kilometers or kilo, it's 1,000 of something. Hecto is 100 of something. Deca is 10 of something. My base unit always means 1 of something. 1 meter, 1 gram, 1 liter. Deci means I'm doing a tenth of my base unit. Centi means I'm doing 100th of my base unit. And milli means I'm doing 1,000th of my base unit, okay? So what I need to remember is that everything above the base unit on my staircase is bigger than the base unit, and everything below the base unit on the staircase is smaller than the base unit, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now in this case, we're starting with centimeters. Look, there it is right there. And so I'm going to put start right above centi, because that's a little visual that kind of helps me do my thing. Now, if I want to go from this unit, centi, to this unit, so my end unit that I'm looking for is meters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write the word end above my base unit here because I'm trying to find meters, okay? So then what I do is I simply say to myself, which way am I going on the staircase? Am I going to the left or am I going to the right? So in this case, I'm going to be moving from centi to my base unit, so I'm going to be moving to the left, and I'm going to be moving 1, 2 steps. So what that means is I'm going to be moving my decimal 2 steps or 2 places to the left. So if I'm looking back at my little example here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my decimal and I'm going to move it 2 spots to the left. Here's one spot right here, and here's my second spot right here. So now when I write out my answer, 1,298 centimeters equals 12.98 meters. And that's because what I did is I used my metric staircase. I found my starting place. I found my end place, which is meters. I took 2 steps to get there, 1, 2, to the left, and that's exactly where I moved my decimal 1, 2 to the left, and that gives me my total of 1,298 centimeters equals 12.98 meters. Now let's do this, you guys, with this sum it up exercise that we did the other day. Okay, let's start with this first one. It might be a little bit hard to see, so I'll go ahead and write these out so that they're a little clearer. So what we have is we have 124.5 kilometers equals how many meters? Well, for starters, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and write this out. That's 124.5 kilometers. And I want to know how many meters. So again, I'm right here. So for starters, you guys, I have to go to my metric staircase, and I have to figure out what my start and my end are. So I'm going to go ahead and erase what I did for start and end on the previous problem. So much erasing. Okay. And now what I have is my start is kilo, because it says so right here, starting with kilometers. And I want to finish with meters, so I'm going to end right here at my base unit. Okay. So this time, I'm going from kilometers to meters. So I'm going to the right, and I'm going to be going 1, 2, 3 steps. It's 3 steps to the right. So now when I go back to my problem here, I've got 124.5, and I have to move my decimal 3 places to the right, because that's what my metric staircase tells me I have to do. So I'm going to go ahead and move my decimal 1, 2, 3. Now you'll notice, you guys, I have these cute little hammocks right here. These cute little hammocks, when I get those, when I do this, I have to fill those with zeros. All right. So now what I have is I have 124,500 meters. If I want to put my little comma in there, I can. But now what I did, you guys, is I went ahead and I converted. So 124.5 kilometers is the same as saying 124,500 meters. Let's do one more. And I can go ahead and fill that in there, 124,500 meters. Let's do this next one. Let's do number 13. Right now, number 13 says I have 456 milligrams. And I want to know how many grams that's going to be, and I'm going to go ahead and abbreviate that with that little g, because that is the official abbreviation for grams. And again, I'm going to go back to my metric staircase. So let's go back to our metric staircase. And again, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and erase, because I love erasing. I can't get enough of it. And I'm going to go ahead and find my start. This time my start is milli. So I have to go all the way down here. Milligrams to grams. So my start is going to be right here, and grams is one of my base units, so I know that my end is going to be here in this base column. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to go 1, 2, 3 steps to the left. Okay. So remember, if I have a whole number, 456, it means my decimal goes at the end. And now what's going to happen is I have to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 places to the left. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to end up with 0.456 grams, and that's what I'm going to write in my blank, 0.456 grams. So I think that's probably enough examples, but that's how you use the metric staircase. So remember, the things to remember with the metric staircase, you guys, as you do these problems is this. When you're looking at a problem like number 14, it says 56.72 centiliters equals how many deciliters? And just remember, we always have to figure out where we're starting with. I'm starting with centi in this case, so I go ahead and write that on my metric staircase. And you don't necessarily have to write start and end. I do it myself because it helps me just keep track of where I am on the staircase. And then the end is going to be right here where we have deca. And just remember, you guys, deca, it can be with a K or a C. It's all the way up here. So that's the first thing you have to do when you're doing these problems, is you want to make sure you figure out where do you start and where do you end on your metric staircase. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.